Hey, assalamu alaikum everybody, hope you're doing well. Before I start with the sightseeing thing, just a few comments. Last month in Egypt, I love Egypt, it's a nice country, it has its pros and cons. A lot of things that make me mad, and a lot of things that make me happy. But in general, I will miss this place. Leave on the 31st to Syria, and then afterwards to the US, so I'm looking forward to that. And trying to plan a trip right now to do something in Syria, go to Homs, Halab, and Hama. Um, Aleppo. But we'll see, inshallah. One thing just going along that series of things I'm gonna miss. Adhan, I have mixed feelings about that. Now that Muslims pray 5 times a day, and here in Muslim countries, or Muslim majority countries, whatever you want to call them, there are 5 calls to prayer, at least in Damascus. One for Fajr, which is early morning. Right now, because daylight savings time just happened yesterday, which is an interesting thing because the time between countries is not constant. Because I speak to my family at a certain time, and so you have to change and then change again. I found that very interesting. I would like a system that's more based on the sun. Maybe I'm just saying that because I'm a Muslim and the daily prayers are based on the sun. But this is how life works here. You say, I'll see you after Maghrib, which is after sunset. Or I'll see you after Dhuhr, which is approximately the afternoon. So, first prayer here, just so you get an idea, and it's all according to the sun. Today was at 4:42 a.m. It's right when you get that twilight, and then it ends at sunrise, which is 6:17 a.m. The second prayer starts at 12:58 p.m., which is right after the sun is at its highest point. You get a little bit of a shadow. The next one is Asr, the third prayer, which is at 4:37 p.m. for most schools of thought, which is if you put a stick in the ground, it's one length of it. Now for Hanafis, it'll be 2 lengths of it. Maghrib, sunset. Right after sunset is the next prayer, which starts at 7:39 p.m. here. This is after the daylight savings time changed, so it was an hour earlier. And then Isha is when you have like that sort of twilight after the sunset finishes. It's at 9:04 p.m. And so, life is according to that here, and you have these calls to prayer. The reason I have mixed feelings is because, non-Muslims tell me that they appreciate it and they like it because it keeps their day in order. And I love it because in America, I have this Adhan program, prayer times program. It doesn't work here for these countries, but for the US, it's amazing. It calls out to prayer, and I remember. But here, I don't even need to do that. I just always, wherever I'm walking, I hear it, and I'm like, okay, it's prayer time. I got to get myself. There are mosques everywhere, My dad used to tell me if you trip and fall, chances are you're probably going to end up in a mosque. Just 1 second, I have to close the window because the noise is too loud. So, chances are you'll fall in the mosque, and that's really cool. I like that. But the problem is, I'm not trying to be racist or anything, but some of the worst adhan call to prayer I've ever heard in my life is here in Egypt. There are some good ones. At the big mosque, it's beautiful. And I guess I was in Damascus, which is the capital. Now I'm not in the capital, I'm in Alexandria. But it's just so bad. I mean, if these people call to prayer in America, I'm sure, at least the mosques I've been to, I'm sure they'd be like, please, brother, just don't call to prayer. I mean, it's really, really bad. It's just annoying me. Some people sound like they're dead, like it's their last, they're dying, and they're like, Allah. And I mean, they're not necessarily old people. It's just terrible, terrible, and it's painful to my ears. And I'm saying this as a Muslim. I think the call to prayer is a beautiful thing, but just the way it is here is just it hurts me to hear it. I'm just like, no, stop, please stop. And I'm serious, and that's very weird, I know, but in the US, maybe because it's a growing Muslim community, even if it's a young guy, if he's got a beautiful voice and he can do it correctly, with the correct pronunciation, it's like, go ahead. It's not, this whole structure. And I think over the years, maybe that's what's caused certain people to give the call to prayer, but really, I mean, bad stuff. And then also things I'm looking forward to, I think I'll say a few maybe every time. Nutter butter, I just thought about it yesterday. I love nutter butter. It's so delicious. York peppermint patties, of course, is my favorite type of candy. I used to buy one every time when I go to the store, and I'm looking forward to that. And other candy. A great grammarian has passed away last week. May may he rest in peace. Rahimahullah. May God have mercy on his soul. And he wrote At-Tatbiq al-Sarfi and At-Tatbiq al-Nahwi, which is applied morphology and applied syntax in the Arabic language. 2 books which I bought, which are very helpful. I mean, tons of typographical mistakes, I think that's what it's called. But still, I mean, just the way he puts it, he makes it very good books, Arabic books. So may he rest in peace, and he actually established. He established the center which I'm studying at. Sightseeing in Alex. So, winding down all the semester and stuff. So I went sightseeing yesterday, which is Friday, the 31st. And I just went to two places. One is called Mugamma al-Masajid, which is, this area near the western side of Alexandria, which has three huge masajid, or Muslim houses of worship. One of them is Sidi Abu Abbas al-Mursi's masjid, and this is, if I'm not mistaken, he's the student of Imam al-Shadili, who started the Shadili Tariqa, which is a Sufi order. Very famous, very well known and spread out. And he's also, if I'm not mistaken, not only the wakil of Imam al-Shadili, but he's also the teacher of Ibn Atta'illah. Ibn Atta'illah is a very famous Sufi. He wrote Al-Hukam al-Ata'iyya, which is, it has been shuriha, it has been explained by Dr. Ali al-Gum'a, who is the Mufti of Egypt, I think that's his position now, and Dr. Muhammad Sa'id Ramadan al-Buti as well, who is, one of the great scholars of Damascus right now. So it's a very important work about how to improve yourself, how to rid yourself of these diseases of the heart. I went there, it was beautiful. I heard the best speech I've ever heard in Egypt as a Friday prayer speech. And I regret not going there earlier. It really was beautiful. And this masjid, I took pictures of all this stuff, by the way, and I'll be posting them in the description. It was just beautiful, beautiful. My friend told me that they got an Italian or a French guy, I think, to build it in the... all these places were basically destroyed during World War II, but they, rebuilt them. And a lot of stuff is plaster. It's not actually stone, but it's just beautiful. And he based it off cathedral or something, but also was influenced by Ottoman architecture. Just beautiful, beautiful place. This speech, within 45 minutes, this guy changed my whole understanding and views on the Prophet's role in Islam. This is a big thing. This is a big topic, and he did that single-handedly. He was intelligent, he was thinking. It wasn't, the normal speeches I've heard here where it's like you should pray 5 times a day. Very simple. It got me to think, it got me to feel, I was affected by it. It stimulated my mind. It was so beautiful, and this guy was so eloquent too. He was so eloquent. And he knew how to change his speech. He's speaking in modern standard Arabic in a certain way on the speech, and then post-speech you have questions and answers, which I forgot about, but they have that in the big mosques in Damascus as well, which I think is a great idea we need in the US. The problem is everyone has work, so it's a different lifestyle. But he toned down his Fusha, his modern standard Arabic, to a certain level when answering the questions. It was just beautiful. He was introduced as, let's see, what was he? He was Dr. Ahmed Fathi, and he's a doctor, he has a PhD, I believe, in Hadith sciences. He was introduced as a Muhaddith. It was excellent, I loved it. The next masjid in this, and there are three right next to each other, is Masjid al-Busayri. If you know Imam al-Busayri, he's the one who wrote the Burde, a very beautiful poem, which I don't understand 100%. It's very difficult, classical Arabic. I just get the gist of what's going on. And he wrote that praising the Prophet. It's a very beautiful poem. I went there after Friday prayer because their tradition is they recite this poem after every Friday prayer because it's his mosque, and he's buried there. And Imam Sidi Abu Abbas al-Mursi is buried at the other place. Took pictures of their graves. A lot of people come and they visit these graves. What was interesting about the Burde, I went there and I sat in this gathering. I've read it once before in Damascus. It was really beautiful. This was totally different. We read it in a different way. And I think it was after Fajr prayer, the early morning prayer. But here, people were really into it. They were singing, they were out loud, which didn't make me feel too comfortable. Again, I'm not saying what they're doing is wrong or blasphemous or shirk or anything like that. Some Muslims will say that, shirk meaning polytheism. But just me personally, I think it's a beautiful poem. I want to understand it, maybe memorize some parts of it. But I wasn't feeling the way they were saying it. But I loved it because I can't sense the musical nature in poetry. In Arabic poetry, you have different. It's called oud, which oud is basically, how do I put it? It's like a rhythm to it, and everything is in that rhythm. And this poem changes rhythm. At least that's what I sense. And when the people are singing it, you can actually feel the musical nature.